This is Scott from Scott in the System, and today we are going to be talking to Bob Callery from the MMAP program, and after our first segment here, we will be gladly taking your calls, and the number, if you wish to write it down, is 459-4881. That's 459-4881. Thank you very much for coming today.
Scott, it is very much my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay. And would you like to explain to our viewers what MAP is exactly?
Sure. MAP is the Michigan Medicare Medicaid Assistance Program. We are a statewide volunteer program that helps to answer Medicare and Medicaid questions for Medicare beneficiaries. People can give our program a call. They can stop into our office and meet with us one-on-one, and we can help explain all types of different issues with Medicare. We help people who are new to Medicare understand the different parts of Medicare. We help people evaluate prescription plans, Medicare Advantage plans, review what supplements are and what's available for them. And then this time of year, it's open enrollment time, so we're busy helping people evaluate their coverage for next year to see if their plan's going to be just as good for them next year.
And that is through December 7th, correct? Yeah.
Correct, yeah. The open enrollment period started October 15, and it runs until December 7. That's a Thursday, the first Thursday in December, and that's a time where people can review and make changes to their prescription Part D plans or their Medicare Advantage plans.
Yeah, is there anything else you would like to go over in the first segment here?
Well, what we can do is, the first thing I want to do is kind of do a brief overview of what Medicare is.
Okay.
To kind of give people an idea of what we're talking about. In Medicare, there are two routes for coverage. The primary route is through Original Medicare. Medicare consists of two primary parts, Part A and Part B. Part A is inpatient hospitalization. So if you go to the hospital and you're admitted as an inpatient, Part A is going to cover you. And Part B is outpatient services, all your doctor visits, durable medical equipment, lab work, blood work, x-rays, things like that.
So that would be like your primary MD or something like that, okay.
Correct, yep, correct. Along with your Part A and B, you're going to have a prescription Part D plan. There are lots of different Part D plans here in Michigan. We have 23 policies in calendar year 2017, and in 2018 we're going to have 24 policies. These Part D prescription plans have different monthly premiums, they have different deductibles, different copays for medications. The biggest difference between the policies will be their formularies, so what prescriptions they cover and which ones they don't, and how they classify them. These Part D plans also work differently at different pharmacies. So what one plan may work good at one pharmacy, while it might not work good at another pharmacy.
Yeah, like you might get it for free at Meijer or something, but if you went to Walgreens or another pharmacy, it might not be the same.
Correct.
Coverage type thing.
That is correct.
Okay.
So the three parts, A, B, and D, makes up Original Medicare. Along with that, people have the option of purchasing a Medigap or a Medicare supplement plan. These supplement plans, there are 10 standardized policies, and depending which one you select and sign up for, will cover some or all of the copays and deductibles of Parts A and B only. So I kind of picture it as like a George Foreman grill. It's one of those things where you set it and forget it. You pay a monthly premium, and when you go to the doctor in the hospital, that supplement will pay those copays for you. All you need to focus on is paying that monthly premium. And so that's the original Medicare. On the other side are your Medicare Advantage plans. These policies essentially are replacement Medicare plans. They provide the same basic benefits as Part A and B of Medicare, but they also include prescription coverage. They can include dental and vision coverage that original Medicare does not provide. Some policies offer gym memberships, so additional benefits that you might not have. You still need to have your Part A and B of Medicare in order to sign up for an Advantage plan. But there are a couple other things to keep in mind with the Advantage plans compared to original Medicare. One, they have their own pricing structure. So whereas in Medicare with your Part B, the typical copay is about 20% of the Medicare approved amount. With the Advantage plans, they have set copays. So a $20 copay for a primary care doctor, $50 for a specialist, $15 for X-ray, things of that nature.
Kind of like most people would get through their employer almost.
Correct. Yeah, these policies are very similar to many employer plans. Looks identical to the employer plan that I have. But the other big concern with the Advantage plans is that they have networks for in-network pricing. So you need to make sure that before you sign up for one of these Advantage plans, that the doctor that you go to, that the hospital that you utilize, or the other providers that you use are in network with that plan. If you go to a provider outside of their network, you may not have any coverage available, or if you do, there could be a higher deductible associated with those visits, or significantly higher copays that you might have to pay.
So basically, before you take that on, you definitely want to do your homework, I would say.
Absolutely. And when somebody comes into our office and meets with one of our volunteers, one of the first questions I ask is, which hospital do you go to? And who are your doctors, and what are their phone numbers? Our volunteers have a list for all the hospitals and which policies they take, and then we'll sit down and call the doctor's offices and the providers for the person to find out and make sure that, okay, all right, if I'm interested in this plan, I want to make sure my doctor takes that. So we double check. Because if the doctor is not going to take half the policies available, we don't even want to look at those.
Yeah, it would defeat the whole purpose.
Exactly.
Almost.
Yep. Yep. So those are the two primary routes that you can choose for Medicare coverage. And as I mentioned earlier, that October 15 through December 7 time period is a time where people can pick the Part D prescription plans with original Medicare or the Medicare Advantage plans. Every year they make changes to their coverage. Like I mentioned, premiums, deductibles, copays, those all change. Pharmacies. So now is the time period where people can review what their current plan is going to look like next calendar year, and if they need to, they can make a switch into a plan that could save them money next year. Especially with the prescription plans. What we're finding is that a lot of people were satisfied with the coverage that they had this current year in 2017. For the vast majority of the policies, the monthly premiums they're not going up. For a lot of plans, the premiums are going down.
Imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. So the costs are staying low with the premiums, and people had good coverage. But the catch is with the formularies and what they cover and what they're not going to cover next year.
Yeah, I think we talked about that I had a couple incidences myself where they changed the formulary and they did not cover one of my prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that really frustrating being, I only take medication for high blood pressure and cholesterol. And, I would think those are pretty common. So I would think the more or less common, prescriptions could be a real, challenge.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Over the last couple years, there have been some policies that have moved away from covering various insulins and inhalers, breathing medication.
Yeah.
And those are some pretty important
Yeah,
medications.
vital, yeah.
And for people, if they don't review their policy and the calendar year turns, they're locked into that plan for next year. And
Yeah.
if their plan's not covering that medication, they're going to be paying full cost. And some of those medications are very expensive.
Quite pricey,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I must say I'm quite fortunate because, I was notified by my pharmacy, about it, and I guess also being I have dual eligibility, that's probably what saved me.
Yeah, the one of the assistance programs that we'll talk about later on,
Okay.
a prescription assistance program called Extra Help. For people who are low income, that program allows for what Medicare considers an ongoing special enrollment. So if somebody were to go on a new medication and they're qualifying for this program, they're not regulated to just that fall open enrollment period. They're able to review and make changes all throughout the year. It's especially beneficial in that situation where all of a sudden their medication is no longer covered. And these policies, they have the capability of ending coverage for medications all throughout the year. So having that capability to switch plans for people who qualify for that extra help is, as a counselor, a very good benefit that I see, because it allows me to help them switch to a plan. But for the beneficiaries, that program really limits the costs that are associated with
Yeah.
medication.
Common sense would tell me they will allow these insurance companies to change their formulary list only at certain times, but I guess that's not the case.
Yep, it's from the calls that we receive, it's rather infrequent that they do that, but it can be costly for some people if they make plan or formulary changes in the middle of the year. A lot of these policies will have formulary exception forms that people can fill out, where they say, we're not covering this medication anymore. I take this form, fill it out, take it to my doctor. My doctor will fill part of it out and provide an explanation onto why we need this prescription covered.
I ran into that incident a couple times.
Mhm. Yeah, and then that gets sent into the insurance company, and they'll review that information and see if they will provide some coverage for medication. And the people that we've helped with that in the past, typically we find some success doing that. Especially your mid-year formulary changes. That's tough on people, and I would hope these companies recognize that.
Yeah, you would hope so
Mhm.
anyway. Well, would that about do it for our first segment?
The one last thing I want to touch on,
Okay.
one more thing, with the supplement plans. For people with original Medicare that have A and B and Part D, they have the option for purchasing a Medigap plan, a supplement plan. And those policies do not have yearly open enrollment periods. There is one primary enrollment period of protection for people if they want one of those supplements. And it's a 6-month window after 2 conditions are met. The individual turns 65 and starts Part B of Medicare. So once those 2 conditions are met, if somebody's interested, they can sign up for a supplement plan and get in at the lowest rate for somebody their age. Outside of that window, the insurance companies are allowed to provide underwriting, so they can review any pre-existing health conditions that you may have, and they can either charge a higher monthly premium, there can be waiting periods for services, or the company can say, you're too much of a health risk, we're not going to take you on. So if people are interested in supplement plans, that 6-month window is the prime time to get into one. Outside of that, somebody can switch at any time for a Medigap plan, but they may not be able to get into one. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, I guess, Peter, we're going to go to our next segment here. We are willing to take incoming calls, and our number is 459-4881. That's 459-4881. What are some of the other topics you would like to discuss with us today?
So there are lots of different topics with Medicare, lots of unique rules and programs. So we'll just go through and examine quite a number of them.
Yeah, unless we get a caller or two.
That's true.
Okay.
Yep. So I want to start off with some of the low-income assistance programs that we help people apply for. The first program, and I already mentioned this program, it's called Extra Help, also known as LIS. This is a program that is operated through Social Security Administration. So to apply for this program, you'd go to the Social Security website, ssa.gov, or you can call our volunteers, and we help people frequently apply for this program. Extra Help is the focus of that program is to provide assistance for prescription coverage. This program can help either reduce or eliminate monthly premiums, deductibles, and copays. It's a very simple application, but can provide tons of savings for prescription costs for people. There are income and asset requirements for this program, so there are limits for people who can qualify for this program. For a single individual, the gross monthly income limit is $1,528, and for a couple, the gross monthly income with the couple combined is $2,050 per month.
Okay.
So we're looking at Social Security benefits. That includes the Part B premium that's taken out of their Social Security each month. If they have their premiums for prescription or Advantage plan deducted each month, we're going to have to include that money back in. So again, for single, the income limit is $1,528, and for a couple, the gross allowed income is $2,050.
Okay.
There are also asset limits to this program, so how much money you have in the bank, how much you have in retirement savings.
Yeah, well, being a Medicaid, I was always told 2,000 is your total assets in general.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for full benefit, 2,000 is accurate. The nice thing about this Extra Help program is it has higher asset limits than that. So for a single person, we're looking at $12,320, and for a couple, $26,100. Again, to qualify for this program, as long as you're under that income and asset limit, a very short application on the Social Security website, ssa.gov. You can go online, fill it out. Our volunteers also help people do that application all the time. A lot of the beneficiaries we talk to either may not have access to a computer or access to the internet, or just don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, or not internet savvy. Yeah.
Correct. And so that's why our program is here, to provide that
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Mhm.
Oh,
Right.
I see we have a question here about the pharmacy, if you would like to read that for us.
All right. I was informed at my pharmacy that they would no longer accept my insurance. Who decides what pharmacies carry which plans? That is going to be something that is negotiated between the various insurance plans and the various pharmacies. So the pharmacies and the insurance companies will get together and negotiate prices, find out if they want to be a participating plan or not, and then that's how they set their program participation for the next year. And thank you for Cheryl on Facebook for that. She sent that question. But when we do Part D plan reviews, our volunteers are able to utilize the Medicare Plan Finder on Medicare.gov website. Through this Plan Finder tool, we are able to enter somebody's prescriptions that they take and the pharmacy that they go through, that they utilize. And that information then is run through all 24 policies that are available next year. That program will put those policies in order from least expensive to most expensive.
Yeah, I've been down that road before, and that's something the volunteers could help with.
Correct.
Oh, that is such a blessing, because I consider myself internet savvy, and it was definitely not fun.
Mm-hmm. It can be for the computer savvy individual, the program is navigable for the individual. We help people over the phone, or they come into my office. We can help them go through the plan finder. So next year they can do it on their own, but for some people we're able to do the whole search for them. But once we put that information in and it puts it in order from least expensive to most expensive, you don't have to worry about that big list of 24 plans and which one should I choose.
Yeah, I would think for the general audience, or in general, we would want to pick the cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's really not an advantage going to more expensive than less, is there?
That's a good question, because we'll look at the top 3 or 4 least expensive plans, but for some people they might do some traveling, so we might want to keep in mind to find a plan that works nationwide.
Oh, I see. It all depends on your living lifestyle, I guess.
Correct.
Okay.
For some people, they look at deductibles. Many of the policies have a deductible to start the year. A little brief explanation on what deductibles are. I think of them as light switches. At the start of the year, at the start of the calendar year, the deductible, you have to pay full cost for your services, so the light switch is off. Once you pay full cost for, in this case, your prescription coverage, once you pay the full cost of prescriptions that equal the deductible, then they turn the light switch on, and then the insurance starts covering the medications.
Is this in relation to, I heard the term donut hole effect?
The donut hole. Yeah, that's something that is not pleasant for people.
I experienced that with my grandmother. She was definitely not a happy camper.
Yeah, the donut hole, it is a time period in which people have to pay a higher copay for their medication. Prior to the Affordable Care Act, once somebody spent a certain dollar amount out of pocket and what insurance paid for medication, then you'd enter the donut hole, at which time, again, this was before Affordable Care Act, the individual beneficiary would have to pay full cost for their medications. They'd have to continue paying full cost until they spent X number of dollars, and then they were out of the donut hole and in what's considered catastrophic coverage. With the Affordable Care Act, that has put limits onto what people have to pay in the donut hole period.
And when you say affordable care, this is also called Obamacare.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. Common term, Obamacare. So when somebody has a brand name medication, when they enter the donut hole in 2018, they would have spent approximately $920 or so out of their own pocket. Between them and insurance, it'll be a total of $3,750. Once you've spent that amount of money, you enter the donut hole, and brand name medications, the copay is going to go up to 35% of the full cost. And then for brand name medications, I believe it's 44% of the full cost of the medication. And then you're paying that higher rate until you've reached, it's just over $7,000
Wow.
out of pocket, and what insurance and Medicare pays. And then you're in catastrophic coverage, which is a maximum 5% copay.
I see why they call it catastrophic, but after getting to that point, I would think most people be in a catastrophic situation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just for out-of-pocket expense. Wow.
Yep. And again, it's not based on a particular time period during the year. It's all about the amount of money that you've paid for prescriptions. So for some people that we've encountered, cancer medications, other medications that cost thousands of dollars. We've seen people who are in and out of the donut hole within the first month of the year.
Wow.
And then they're in catastrophic coverage for the remainder of the year. Other people, they may only take a couple generic blood pressure medications that cost only a few dollars each month. They may never see the donut hole. They may never even meet their deductible for the year. But it's all based on the total cost of prescriptions that they pay for. Going back to the plan finder, when we enter people's medications in the pharmacy that they go to, I went into social work so I would not have to do math every day, and this program helps me overcome that because it calculates all these costs. It identifies when somebody could enter the donut hole and when they could get out. So it figures all that out for us. So we can help evaluate, maybe those top 3 plans to see which plan's going to be best for them.
Yeah, so the consumer doesn't have to feel like a Harvard professor just
Correct.
to figure out their, prescription costs for the next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you'd have to look at, the prescription plan itself. You'd have to look at, you'd have to call the pharmacies up to find out what the copays would be between the different plans. You can call multiple pharmacies up to find out what those costs are. But that's a lot of active work to try and find all that information. And the Plan Finder is a great tool that helps to do that in a very quick manner. The costs aren't 100% accurate. They are very close, but it's not going to be set. These prices for medications fluctuate all throughout the year. So when we review these plans, we have to remember that just because it says $9.80 doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to be, but it's going to be right around that for the year.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee, but at least it's a somewhat accurate estimation.
Correct. Yep, and when these plans make their changes each year, we're able to enter those medications in the Plan Finder, and Cheryl asked that question about her pharmacy not accepting her plan next year, and that would be a situation where we could enter that information in the Plan Finder. We could put her current pharmacy in there because she might like utilizing that pharmacy, and find which other of the 24 policies would be better served for her. And then we can help her enroll in that plan, and she'll be good to go for the next year.
Yeah, so she don't feel obligated to go to a pharmacy across town or something that's not going to be quite so convenient.
Correct. Yeah, because some people, when you find a good pharmacist, you want to stay with them. They know your health history, they know the medications that you take, any other issues going on, and they provide good service. And so for some people, they do not want to give that up.
Well, my pharmacy, for instance, they deliver. Can't beat that.
Correct. And especially with winter quickly approaching, that benefits nice.
Well, plus it's one less expense for, or not expense, but, something my caregivers need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have another question? Okay. We have another question here.
All right. Looks like this is from Rona on Facebook. With potential changes to the Affordable Care Act, how can I possibly protect myself to make sure I can keep affordable coverage? With the MAP program, our primary focus is on Medicare benefits and Medicare issues surrounding people. In the